Shalom, shalom. Now this is part 5 of teaching the end from the beginning. Now I'm going to recap this. We just went through Bereshit chapter 6 in part 4. He says, I'm going to destroy the earth of all flesh. I'm going to wipe it out by a flood. And the flood is the immersion in that Yahushua talked about. He set the example by being immersed by the last pure Levitical priest of Yahuchanan, the immerser. Remember, he was of the priesthood line, okay, of the Levites. So the priesthood was replaced by him being washed in the water, and this flood still is a type and a picture of us laying down our lives into a watery grave. So he warned us in advance, I'm making a covenant with the first fruits elect. This is chapter 6. I'm going to make an ark for you, an ark of a covenant, where the 10 Commandments, Moshe's staff, the rod that budded, or Aaron's staff, the rod that budded, and the Yahushua's the bread of heaven, that stored little jar of the manna was in there at one time. Okay, he says, I'm going to make an ark. Before I flood the earth, I'm making an ark. And there's these boats that are symbolism of the type of the supernatural gift of salvation when everyone else is going into a flood. It's the first fruit call. Most die away in the nations, tongues, peoples, and languages in the flood. And we survive because we went into the ark. And when we eat of the Word, we eat the 10 Commandments, we drink and eat of His Word, we are those 2 plates that are in the ark. So you have to keep the symbolism always flowing in your mind. We eat of the Master. He is the Torah. He is the Tanakh. He is the Brit HaKadeshah. He is the entirety of the Word. So he's warning us in advance, I'm going to flood the earth, but I'm going to have you build an ark. Okay, this is chapter 6. And okay, we're backing up. So we built the ark. He said we're going to flood. We built the ark. And let's see if we can get some symbolic numbering out of the ark specifications. Let me see. The ark is going to be 300 cubits long. Its width is 50, so that's 600, 700, and its height is 30, 60, 90, 120. So there's 720 cubits total when you piece it all together through geometry. Okay, so there's 720 numbers, but the 300, just make a note, 350, that's a jubilee. We'll go through maybe the symbolic meaning of these numbers later. And there's 30 is a powerful number too. Okay, so just keep those in mind, 350 and 30. Make a window for the ark, completed above a cubit above. Now there's a covering for the ark. That's a type of the mercy seat. Okay, it's a type of the mercy seat. And I'm making it waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh. So he's warned us. He says, build an ark before I flood you. So this is the first fruit call. We are being spared from dying permanently or physically. That we're, although entering into the flood with the dead, we are saved from it by the gift of faith. The boats still represent faith. By our faith, we live. As I said before, we confess the promises, and our faith allows us to live. And the animals going with us. So, through the time of being in the ark, we're being ministered to by ministering spirits. As I've taught before, I won't cover all this, but the birds that fly are the messengers that answer and fulfill our prayers. The beasts, the earth dwell among us. The creeping things are our life structure. Like the more we enter into covenant, the healthier we become. There's no such thing as sickness. The more you apply of His Torah, and you start to eat Torah healthy and get rid of all the processed foods as much as you can, things like that, the maggots and the worms, the creeping things in our bodies are being more healthy and restored. They're in a restoring mode instead of a destructive mode, you see. So as we're backing up through this, He's told us of the flood. He said, make a covenant with me. The Ark of the Covenant is the type of the covenant you make. You spend some time, because I think it wasn't 120 years it took to make the Ark. That's still a type of the 120 jubilees of man's existence on the earth. 6,000 years. Because He found man's ways corrupt. He's differentiating the called out. This is the type of the first fruits. He's differentiating the called out from chapter 6, verse 1. The sons of men The sons of Elohim and the daughters of men. The sons of Elohim went into the ark, the daughters of men drowned. Okay? How many have testimonies here who can say, once they received this strange covenant of Yahuwah and entered into his Sabbaths and his feast, our spouses dumped us? There was a war, hell, torment, struggle, sorrows, crying, and it was finally over. They weren't going to submit to Yahuwah's way. They were daughters of men. Some women, when they embrace our husbands who receive the Torah, they're daughters of sons of Elohim too, and they eventually will submit after they begin to see. So that's basically a summary. We're backing up. We've renounced this lie that Satan raped humans and had babies by them. No one gives Satan that kind of power. When people teach that they give Satan power, then he's going to gain more ground. He does not have that kind of creative power. He does not. He does not. You mock Yahuwah when you teach it. Yes, the pituitary gland or something to make them big, that's feasible to me. I'm not going to make an issue of that. Now, again, study this. I said before, the sons of Elohim are chapter 5. This is the elect seed line. I won't bother reading it just for the sake of the time, but this is only mentioning elect. As I said before, to populate the earth into the millions, to have them all die off in the flood, to fill the whole earth. Adam and Eve, just these couple of thousand years, 1,500 years, whatever it's been. No, it's only been just a little over 1,000. Noah lived when Adam lived. Somebody's figured that out. So it's right around 1,000 years. So in order to have that many people fill the earth, Adam and Eve, Adam probably had to take 20, 30 wives. He lived 1,000 years. Eve was the prototype. Just because it wasn't mentioned doesn't make it so. Just because one of his sons took 2 wives doesn't mean he took 22 more. If they had to breed that much to put that many people upon the earth, if you're going to take chapter 5 literally, probably what? 15,000 people would have been on the earth. That's stretching it to the max for 1,000 years. 15,000 people cannot corrupt themselves across the entire planet. It has to go into the millions, or at least the many, many hundreds of thousands, to make the scenario work. So just keep that in mind. Don't believe me. Pray about this, but don't believe the other teachers teaching the garbage that I'm rebuking. Multiple wives is the way the Father set it up. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to. There's no law telling you to do it, but if you do, there's nothing wrong with it. Adam and Eve were a prototype. That's all. Now, we're going to read through chapter 4, and there's a deep meaning as far as the two natures we're going to deal with here. Okay? There's a two nature, good and evil, right and wrong, black and white, that type of thing. We have to make a decision here. So we backed up. Now, chapter 5, we've realized there's an elect seed line that's only being mentioned. Not the entire world. The daughters of men aren't even mentioned in this unless it's by inference or in the remez of saying he had many other sons and daughters besides that. He lived 900 years. He didn't have just a couple of kids. Adam probably had hundreds and hundreds of sons and daughters. Himself and Eve. And Eve's other wives. Or, Adam's other wives. And the same for all of his sons. To get that kind of population in the earth. It's absolutely... Okay, to understand the Torah, please look up the word logistics. Just like those who believe that the 3 days in a row, lunar Sabbath nonsense, to believe the 3 months in a row that the months landed on the same day on each month for 3 months in a row in the Torah, they don't understand logistics. They don't know what it's like to move 3,000, 3,500 people that much time in that little time frame. They just don't press a button and boom, they move to the next stop. Our town I live in is 260,000. Can you imagine how long it would take to get everybody going, grouped up, assign, announce that we have to travel on foot? You know how long that would take? Can you imagine 3 million or 4 times my city in population just to move? See, that's how Satan's so tricky. He if you sell a lie long enough, if you preach the lie long enough, you just keep repeating the stinking lie, people are going to believe it. You have to seek the Father. He is the great shepherd of the sheep. We have to seek Him. Don't believe a word I say. But if He says, right path, roll with it and pray about it. Ask the Father to open up, expand your mind. Chapter 5 is the first fruits genealogy. If you believe all man is going to be judged on this, who's ever lived upon this earth in this age, they're coming up to be destroyed or lived under judgment of what they've done upon this earth in this age, you are wrong. Deuteronomy or Bereshit chapter 5 condemns it. It's only the elect seed line that's mentioned, only the first fruits. You have to take a Kadosh day, the Shavuot, the Feast of First Fruits, and throw it out the window. You have to remove that if you're going to believe that lie. One of the first fruit, we are standing in judgment right now. We are at risk of our standing and calling in the kingdom right now. We, as the elect, who are receiving His word, are called. Chapter 4, Genesis chapter 4. So Adam knew Chawah his wife, and she conceived and bore Cain. He said, I've gained a man unto Yahuwah. Again she gave birth to his brother Hevel, and Hevel became a keeper of the sheep. But Cain, now these are the two natures now. And Cain became a tiller of the ground. Not that either profession is bad. But it came to be in the course of time that Cain, he brought an offering of the fruit of the ground unto Yahuwah. And if you go into the Midrash, it makes sense as far as why he doesn't allow the combination of animal fibers and plant fibers to be sewn together like flax and wool, because they said Cain gave flax seed, and it makes sense in the prophetic picture. So he served up Yahuwah flax seed for an offering, which can be made into a garment, not the seed, but the leaves or the branches of the flax, whatever. So he brought the first fruits, or assuming the flax, Cain did, the offering of the fruit of the ground. Of Hevel, he brought forth the firstborn of his flock and their fat portions. And Yahuwah looked at Hevel and his offering, and if you do that in process of time, it could have been a type. Pardon me. Could have been a type of the Passover, I'm not sure, or a feast of first fruits, I don't know. But he did not look unto Cain and his offering, for Cain was furious, and his countenance fell. And Yahuwah said to Cain, and said, Why is he wrong towards you? Why has your face fallen? Is it not? If you do good, you are going to be accepted, Cain. And if you do not do good towards the door, is a sin. Because he was in rebellion. The Torah commands to bring the offerings of the fat portions and the animal portions to the offerings. It's not just the grain. And if you know the Torah, it would be a wheat or a barley grain, probably a wheat grain, and he offered a flax grain. And that's maybe why the Father cursed the fact you can't mingle an animal byproduct and a plant byproduct into a material together. You can't weave them together. So Cain took Hevel his brother, and it came to be that when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Hevel, his brother, and killed him. Now you see how Satan entered Cain's heart, and the spirit of murder entered into him. He killed his brother because he was righteous. Remember what Yehuda talked about it, or James, or one of the New Testament writers. Cain was wicked, Hevel was righteous. His witness still lives on because he offered a right slaughtering of the meat portions and the fat portions. And Cain, the first one, was degraded in his eyes because his little boy brother offered the correct slaughtering. See? So Yahuwah said to Cain, Where is Hevel your brother? Now again, we're going to reverse this. And he said, I do not know. Am I my brother's guard? He said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the earth, which has opened up its mouth to receive your brother's blood from your hand. Now pay attention here. Cain was the type that once Adam cursed, there's an Adam curse here, but there's a curse that Cain brought upon himself. Adam's curse cursed the ground where you don't grow food correctly, okay? The food's going to be a struggle. By the sweat of your brow, you're going to make food. So, what is this voice? Once the murder kicked in and he didn't repent, Cain did not. He would have forgiven him if he would have repented. Since they're already in the fallen state, he would have forgiven us, but he didn't repent. He was furious. And it's even spiritual. Well, I got to shut this up. We're just about out of time.